In our family, my younger sister Olivia and I were always the creative ones. It was a label given to us with a mixture of pride and pity, as if being an artist was a charming but slightly tragic congenital condition. We were the sisters who drew instead of playing sports, who spent our summers in art camps instead of at the beach. We shared a passion, a language of color and design and typography that no one else in our pragmatic, sensible family understood. For years, I thought that shared language made us allies, a two-person army against a world that didn't get us. I was wrong. We weren't allies. We were competitors in a quiet, lifelong race that I never even knew I was running. And she was about to cross the finish line by tripping me a few feet from the tape. Have you ever had someone in your life who is your biggest supporter and your biggest rival at the same time? A person you love more than anyone, but who you also feel like you're in a constant, quiet race against. It's a complicated, confusing place to be. If you've been there, hit that subscribe button, because my race was about to get a whole lot more complicated and a whole lot more public. The stage for our final, spectacular showdown was a job posting, not just any job posting, the job posting, an opening for a creative director at Aperture Creative. To understand what that means, you have to understand our world. In the universe of graphic design and branding, Aperture Creative was the sun. They were the most innovative, most awarded, most respected agency in the country. Their work was smart, beautiful, and culturally relevant. They didn't just create ads, they created conversations. For a designer, getting a job at Aperture wasn't just a career move, it was an ascension. It was like a physicist getting a call from NASA. It was the dream. And there it was, on a design blog one Tuesday morning, glowing on my screen. Aperture Creative seeks new creative director to lead their flagship digital team. My heart stopped. It was a position so far above what I thought I was ready for that it seemed like a fantasy. I was a senior designer at a respectable, mid-sized agency. I was good at my job. I led projects. I managed junior designers. I had a solid portfolio, but creative director at Aperture. That was another level entirely. But the dream, as foolish as it was, took root. Our rivalry had always been a quiet, simmering thing, present since childhood. I am the older sister by 3 years, the responsible, diligent one. Olivia is the younger, the flashier one. She was born with a natural, dazzling talent that I had to work twice as hard to match. In our childhood art classes, her paintings were always more vibrant, her ideas more original. I remember one summer art show when I was 12. I had spent a month on a detailed, technically perfect watercolor of our family's dog. Olivia had, in 2 days, created a chaotic, brilliant, abstract expressionist masterpiece that was an explosion of color and emotion. I won second prize. She won first. I was proud of her, truly. But when we got home, I found her in the garage, accidentally smearing a tiny bit of mud on the corner of my blue ribbon. She'd cried and apologized so convincingly that my parents told me I was being silly for being upset. It was an accident, but I always wondered. The pattern continued through college. We both got into the same prestigious design school. I got in with a significant scholarship based on my portfolio and my grades. She got in off the wait list, largely, I think, due to her immense raw talent and her incredible charm. Throughout school, I was the one who pulled the all-nighters, who meticulously footnoted my research, who never missed a deadline. She was the one who would start a project the night before it was due and somehow produce a piece of pure, chaotic genius that would leave our professors speechless. After graduation, our paths diverged. I took a safe job at a corporate firm, slowly, methodically climbing the ladder. I built a reputation for being reliable, for being a leader, for being the person you give a project to when you need it done perfectly and on time. Olivia bounced. She had a series of jobs at flashy, exciting startups that would invariably burn out after a year. She did freelance work. Her portfolio was a stunning collection of brilliant, beautiful, and half-finished projects. She had the talent, but not the discipline, the spark, but not the stamina. And I, the responsible older sister, was always there to catch her. I would help her with her resume. I would lend her money between gigs. I even got her a freelance contract with my own agency when she was in a particularly tight spot. I did it because I loved her, and because it was my role. She was the brilliant, struggling artist, and I was her safety net, or so I thought. When I saw the job posting for Aperture, my first thought, after the initial wave of terrified excitement, was of her. We both dreamed of working there. We would pore over design annuals, admiring their work, deconstructing their campaigns. I called her immediately. "Liv," I said, my voice buzzing, "you are not going to believe what I'm looking at." I sent her the link. She was quiet for a long moment on the other end of the phone. "Wow," she finally said. "Creative director. That's the big one." "I know," I said. "It's a long shot. I'm probably not qualified, but I think I'm going to go for it." "You should," she said, her voice suddenly full of a bright, enthusiastic energy that sounded completely genuine. "Oh my God, Maya. You would be perfect for that, your leadership skills, your portfolio. You have to apply." "You should apply too," I said. It was the right, sisterly thing to say. "Me," she laughed, a self-deprecating sound. "Oh no, I'm not seedy material. I'm a mess. You're the organized, professional one. But I will be your biggest cheerleader. You have to go for this. Promise me you will." Her support was so absolute, so selfless. It made me feel a pang of guilt for my own success. Here she was, struggling with freelance gigs, and she was encouraging me to go for the job of a lifetime. She was the best sister in the world. For the next 2 weeks, we became a team, or so I thought. We holed up in my apartment, which was bigger and had better software than hers. We worked on my application together. She was an incredible sounding board. She helped me choose the strongest pieces for my portfolio. She helped me edit my cover letter. Her natural flair for language, making my professional accomplishments sound like poetry. "You got this," she'd say, pouring me another cup of coffee as we worked late into the night. "They're going to be obsessed with you." I sent off the application, my heart full of a nervous, hopeful gratitude for my sister's unwavering support. A week later, I got an email from Aperture's head of HR. They wanted to schedule a first-round interview. I was ecstatic. When I told Olivia, she screamed and hugged me, jumping up and down in my living room. "I knew it. I told you," she'd squealed. Then came the second interview, then the third. With each new step, Olivia was my shadow, my coach, my cheerleader. She helped me research the agency's partners. She helped me prepare for the grueling technical questions. She was more invested in my success than I was. It seemed, finally, after a month-long, multi-stage interview process, I had my final interview. It was with the agency's founder and CEO, a legendary, intimidating figure named Mr. Harrison. It was a 3-hour marathon. I walked out of their sleek, downtown office feeling like I had just run a mental triathlon. I was exhausted, but I also felt good. I felt like I had nailed it. "How did it go?" Olivia asked, the moment I called her. "I think it went well," I said, a cautious optimism in my voice. "He was tough, but I think I held my own. They said I would hear something within a week." And so the final, agonizing wait began. Olivia was a rock. She was a constant source of positive energy. "Don't worry," she'd say. When my anxiety would start to spiral, "You're a shoo-in. There's no one better for that job than you. They'd be insane not to hire you." I leaned on her support completely. I was so grateful, so lucky, to have a sister like her. A sister who wasn't jealous, but who was a true, selfless champion of my own success. I was living in a beautiful, well-constructed fantasy, and I had no idea that the person I loved and trusted most in the world was about to take a sledgehammer to its foundations. The email from Aperture Creative arrived a week after we submitted our applications. It landed in my inbox with a quiet, unassuming ping, a sound that completely belied the life-altering potential of the words inside. The subject line was simple: interview request, creative director position. My heart did a violent lurch against my ribs. I read the email 3 times, my eyes scanning the polite, corporate language, making sure it was real. They wanted to see me. They wanted to talk to me. I had made it to the first round. I let out a whoop of pure, unadulterated joy in the middle of my quiet apartment. The first person I called was Olivia. "I got it," I screamed into the phone before she could even say hello. "I got an interview, Aperture. They want to see me." The feigned excitement on her end was a perfect, flawless performance. I know that now. But at the time, it sounded like the purest, most genuine happiness. Oh my God, Maya, I knew it. I told you that is absolutely incredible. When is it? Next Tuesday, I said, still buzzing. Have you heard anything yet? Not yet, she said, a convincing note of hopeful disappointment in her voice. But my portfolio isn't as strong as yours. Don't you worry about me. This is about you right now. This is amazing. For the next few days, we were in it together, waiting for her call. She would text me every morning. Any news, I admired her resilience, her lack of jealousy. It only made me love her more. On Friday, she called me, her voice thick with what I thought was sadness. Well, she said with a sigh that was a masterpiece of dramatic art, I just got the email. The polite, thanks but no thanks. I didn't make the cut. My heart ached for her. Oh, Liv, I said, I'm so sorry. Hey. No, she said, her voice suddenly full of a bright, noble, and completely fabricated selflessness. Don't you dare be sorry. I knew it was a long shot for me, but this is incredible news for us. It means one of us is still in the race. And now, we can put all our energy, all our focus, into getting you this job. Your victory is my victory. Maya. We're a team. Her words, her supposed generosity, were so moving I actually teared up. She wasn't just my sister. She was my greatest champion. And I, in my blind, loving naivete, walked right into the beautiful, supportive trap she was setting for me. The weeks that followed were an intense, all-consuming boot camp for which Olivia appointed herself the drill sergeant. My success became her singular focus. My apartment became our war room. She was relentless. Okay, she'd say, pulling up my online portfolio on my big screen monitor. Let's go through this, piece by piece. This campaign for the microbrewery, it's good, but it's safe. Let's bury it. But this one, she'd say, pointing to a pro bono campaign I had designed for a local animal shelter. This one is brilliant. It's got heart. It's unexpected. This is what we lead with. She was a brilliant strategist. She interrogated me about every project. Tell me the story behind this one. Maya. What was the client's initial problem? What was your core insight? Why did you choose that specific font pairing? They're going to ask you these things. You need to have the narrative down. I thought she was just being thorough. I thought she was using her own considerable creative talent to help me shine. I had no idea that she wasn't just helping me prepare. She was downloading my entire professional brain. She was studying my thought process, my creative philosophy, my unique approach to problem solving. She was learning how to be me. Then came the mock interviews. She was a terrifyingly accurate interviewer. She would sit opposite me at my dining room table, her expression serious, a legal pad in her hand, and she would grill me for hours. So, Ms. Vance, she'd say in a deep, formal voice, pretending to be the CEO, Mr. Harrison, your portfolio is impressive, but leading a team of 20 creatives is about more than just good design. Tell me about your leadership style. And I, trusting her completely, would give her my best, most honest answers. I talked about my philosophy of collaborative creation, of empowering junior designers. I gave her my best material, my most insightful thoughts on the future of digital branding. I laid my entire professional soul bare on that dining room table, and she soaked it all up, nodding, taking notes, a supportive smile on her face. She was not my coach. She was my spy. The final interview with the real Mr. Harrison was scheduled for a Friday afternoon, the night before. We were in the middle of our final, frantic prep session. We were sitting side by side at my desk, going over my notes, when my laptop, which had been on for 3 days straight, finally died. Oh no, I groaned. The battery is shot. No problem, Olivia said instantly, pulling her own sleek MacBook Air out of her bag. Use mine. We're a team. Remember. She placed her laptop in front of me. I sat down, and for the next hour, we continued our work. At one point, I needed to pull up an old client email from my personal account to reference a specific metric for a case study I wanted to use. I opened a browser window and navigated to the Gmail login page. And then, I typed in my password. It was a complex password, one I had used for years, a mixture of letters, numbers, and symbols, based on a pattern I thought was clever. It was a combination of our childhood dog's name, a series of numbers that corresponded to the letters of my first name on a phone keypad, and the year I had graduated from college. Olivia was sitting right next to me, her eyes on the screen, helping me look for the email. I typed in the password, my fingers moving quickly across her keyboard. And I didn't think a single thing of it. Why would I? This was Olivia, my sister, my best friend, the person I trusted more than anyone in the world. The idea that she would be watching my fingers, memorizing the pattern, was a thought so monstrous, so alien, that it could not have possibly entered my mind. After I found the email, I got up to get us more coffee. I left my Gmail open on her computer. Another small, trusting act. Another fatal, unforgivable mistake. The final interview was grueling, but I felt prepared. I felt confident. Mr. Harrison asked me tough, insightful questions, and I had ready, articulate answers for all of them. Thanks to my mock sessions with Olivia, I walked out of the Aperture Creative offices feeling like I had just aced the most important test of my life. I called Olivia the moment I got outside. "I think it went really well," I said, my voice buzzing with adrenaline. I knew at which she'd squealed. "I have a good feeling about this, Maya. A really, really good feeling. They're going to call. I know it." And so, the eager wait began. The next few days were a special kind of torture. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart would leap into my throat, but it was never them. A week passed, then another. The silence from Aperture was deafening, my initial. Confident hope began to curdle into a familiar, sickening anxiety. Olivia was my rock. "Don't worry," she'd say, her voice full of a calm, reassuring confidence. "These things take time. They're probably just finalizing the offer. A big company like that has a lot of red tape. You're their pick. I can feel it." She was so sure, so supportive. She was the only thing keeping my hope alive. But after 3 weeks of silence, even I had to admit defeat. They had gone with someone else. I hadn't gotten the job. The disappointment was a physical thing, a heavy, crushing weight on my chest. I had been so close. I had wanted it so badly, and I had failed. I cried for a full day, and Olivia was right there, holding me, letting me soak her shoulder with my tears. "I'm so sorry, sweetie," she'd whispered, stroking my hair. "They're idiots. They don't know what they passed up. Their loss. You'll find something even better, I promise." Her comfort was a balm on my wounded pride. I was so lucky to have her. I didn't know what I would have done without her. I started to get back on my feet. I started looking at other job postings, trying to muster up the energy to start all over again. And that was where things stood. Me, the failed applicant, being comforted by my perfect, supportive sister. The lie was absolute. It was flawless, and I was living inside of it, completely, blissfully, and tragically unaware that the dream job offer I had been waiting for had, in fact, arrived in my inbox 3 weeks ago, and the only person who had seen it, the person who had read it, and then moved it to the trash folder and permanently deleted it from my life, was the very same woman who was now so kindly stroking my hair and telling me everything was going to be okay. Grief is a strange country, and the grief of a dead dream has its own unique, desolate landscape. For 3 weeks, I wandered through it. The sharp, acute pain of not getting the job at Aperture slowly subsided into a dull, chronic ache. I accepted it. I had taken my shot and missed. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but I was a pragmatist at heart. My family had been right all along. It was time to give up the fantasy and get a real job. So I began the humiliating process of rebuilding my old life. I updated my resume, replacing the hopeful creative aspirant headline with the sensible, boring senior designer. I started scrolling through job listings, not for exciting, cutting-edge agencies, but for stable, corporate in-house design departments. I was looking for a job with good benefits and a 401k. A job my father would approve of. I was surrendering. Through it all, Olivia was a saint. My perfect, supportive sister. She was my constant companion in my grief. She would bring me coffee. She would make me dinner. She would sit with me while I aimlessly scrolled through job postings. "Don't worry, Maya," she'd say, her voice full of a gentle, loving encouragement. "This is just a setback. You are way too talented to be down for long. Something even better will come along. You'll see." She was so kind, so selfless. My failure had become her mission, and I was so grateful for her. I leaned on her completely. I had no idea that I was leaning on the very person who had pushed me off the cliff. The bomb that detonated my life and revealed the truth was not a loud, explosive thing. It arrived on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, wrapped in the guise of happy news. Olivia asked me to sit down. She was practically vibrating with a strange, nervous energy. Her face was flushed. Her eyes were shining with an emotion I mistook for excitement. "Maya," she began, taking both of my hands in hers, "I have something to tell you, and it's completely insane. You are not going to believe it." "What is it?" I asked, a little flicker of hope igniting in me. Had she found a new lead for me, a different dream job? "Okay," she said, taking a deep breath. "So, you know how Aperture didn't work out for you? Well, I got a call last week from Mr. Harrison's office." My heart stopped. Mr. Harrison, the CEO, he told me that their top candidate. She paused, giving me a look of profound sisterly sympathy. "That must have been you." "Maya." He said their top candidate had to turn down the offer at the last minute due to some family emergency, and he said that the hiring committee had been so impressed with my initial portfolio, with my unique creative voice, that they wanted to see if I was still available. I just stared at her, my mind unable to process the words. We had a few informal chats over the phone. She continued, the words tumbling out of her in a rush of feigned disbelief. "And I guess they really liked me. They liked my vision, and, well, they offered me the job. Maya. They offered me the creative director position." She looked at me, her eyes wide, her expression a perfect performance of shocked, incredulous joy. "Can you believe it? It's crazy, right? It's like it was meant to be in our family, one way or another." The room went quiet. The only sound was a high-pitched ringing in my ears. The job, my dream, the one that had been the focus of my entire life for the past 3 months. They had given it to her. A wave of emotions so complex and so contradictory washed over me that I thought I might be sick. There was, of course, the sharp, bitter sting of my own failure, now made so much more acute. There was a confusing, churning jealousy that I was immediately and deeply ashamed of. But underneath it all, there was another feeling, a small, cold, and deeply unsettling flicker of suspicion. The story was too neat, too perfect. A top candidate turns down a dream job, and they just happened to call the sister who was rejected in the first round. It felt convenient. It felt like a scene from a bad movie. But then I looked at her face, at her shining, happy eyes, at her expression of pure, unadulterated triumph, and the shame won out. How could I be suspicious of her? This was Olivia, my sister, my biggest supporter. She was just as shocked as I was. This was a miraculous, 1 in a million stroke of luck for her. And I had to be happy for her. I had to be. It was my duty as a supportive older sister. So I pushed down the ugly, dark flicker of suspicion, and I smiled. "Liv," I said, my voice a strange, hollow thing. That's incredible. I'm in shock. But I am so happy for you." Her face broke into a brilliant, relieved grin. She believed me. She threw her arms around me. "Oh my God, I knew you would be," she said, squeezing me tight. "We're going to be the ultimate design power sisters, just in different cities." Her hug felt like a cage. The celebration that my family threw for her that weekend was one of the most painful experiences of my life. It was held at my parents' house. The same dining room table that had been the site of my own quiet failures was now the stage for her magnificent triumph. My parents were ecstatic. They were practically glowing with pride. "Olivia, darling, we always knew you had it in you," my father boomed, raising a glass of champagne. "You just needed the right opportunity to show the world your talent to Olivia." To Olivia, they all chorused. They spent the entire dinner fawning over her, asking a million questions about her new job, her new salary, her new life in the big leagues. And they treated me with a kind of gentle, condescending pity that was almost worse than their previous disapproval of my own dreams. "Don't you worry, Mia," my mother said, patting my hand as Olivia was describing the view from her future corner office. Your time will come, sweetie. It just wasn't meant to be. But look at your sister, isn't it wonderful? One of my girls is a success. One of my girls, the implication was clear. Olivia was the success. I was the failure. I had to sit there for 3 hours, a frozen smile on my face, and listen to them celebrate my sister's theft of my dream. Every word of praise for her felt like a personal insult to me. Every cheer for her success was a confirmation of my own inadequacy. In the weeks that followed, Olivia moved into her new role with a gusto that was both impressive and sickening. She was a whirlwind of activity. She bought a whole new wardrobe of expensive, designer work clothes. She talked endlessly about her new team, her new projects, her brilliant new ideas. And the cruelest part, she would come to me for advice. "Maya," she'd say, sitting on my sofa, looking at me with her big, earnest eyes. "I have this really difficult client, and I remember you were talking about a similar situation in your interview prep. What was that strategy you came up with for handling pushback?" She would ask me for my ideas, my strategies, my solutions, the very ones I had so carefully, so hopefully prepared for the job that was now hers, and I, the good sister, the supportive sister, would give them to her. I would help her succeed in the job she had stolen from me. The irony was a constant, bitter taste in my mouth, but the suspicion, the little cold seed of doubt that had been planted on the day of her announcement, refused to go away. It grew, day by day, watered by 100 tiny inconsistencies. There was the way she would never quite look me in the eye when she talked about the offer from Aperture. There was the vagueness of her story, the way the details would shift slightly with each retelling. And there was her new phone, a top-of-the-line model that I knew, for a fact, she couldn't afford on her old freelance salary. I was living in a state of quiet, constant cognitive dissonance. My heart, my love for my sister, my desire to believe the best of her, was at war with my gut, which was screaming at me that something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. I needed to know the truth, but how could I find it? Asking her was pointless. She would just deny it. Asking the company was impossible. They would never discuss a confidential hiring matter with a failed applicant. I felt trapped, powerless. The answer came to me one night. As I was sitting alone in my dark apartment, I was doing what had become my nightly ritual of self-torture, looking at the Aperture Creative website, at the job I didn't get, at the life I wasn't living. And then I had a thought, an idea so simple, so obvious. I couldn't believe I hadn't thought of it before. My email. The offer from Aperture would have come via email. If Olivia had deleted it, it would still be in my trash folder. The trash folder only permanently deletes emails after 30 days. It had been more than 30 days since I was supposed to have heard back. But what if she had only deleted it from the inbox, but not from the trash? Or what if there was another record of it? A sent message from them. A confirmation. It was a long shot, a desperate, pathetic, 1 in a million chance. But it was something. My hands were shaking as I opened my laptop and logged into my Gmail account. The same account I had so foolishly, so trustingly, left open on my sister's computer weeks ago. My inbox was full of job rejection emails and links to accounting positions from my mother. I took a deep breath, and I navigated my cursor to the menu on the left side of the screen. I scrolled down, past inbox, past sent, past drafts, and then I clicked on the word that held the key to everything. Trash! The folder was full of old junk mail and deleted newsletters. I began to scroll, my heart pounding, my eyes scanning the subject lines, looking for a single name, Aperture. And then I saw it, and my world stopped. It wasn't an email they had sent to me. It was an email I had supposedly sent to them. To Harrison, Aperture Creative, from Maya, Vance, Designing Mail, subject re your offer of employment date. October 12th, 3 weeks ago, the day after my final interview, an email from me to them, an email I had never written. My blood turned to ice. With a trembling finger, I clicked it open. The message was short, polite, and it was a dagger in my heart. Dear Mr. Harrison, it read, "Thank you so much for the incredibly generous offer of the creative director position. After careful consideration, I have decided to decline. A personal family matter requires my attention at this time. and I am no longer in a position to accept new employment. I wish you and Aperture Creative all the best in finding a suitable candidate. Sincerely, Maya Vance. It was a perfect forgery, a perfect lie. She had not only deleted their offer, she had rejected it for me. In my own name, the betrayal was so profound, so absolute. It was almost elegant in its cruelty. I stared at the screen, at the words that had stolen my dream, and the last of my naive, sisterly love finally, truly, died. The ghost in my inbox had just told me the whole, ugly story, and I now had the proof. For a full hour, I just sat there in the dark, my laptop screen illuminating my face, the forged email from my own account burning a hole in my retinas. The initial shock had passed, and the grief, which had been a dull, constant ache for weeks, had been replaced by something else entirely, a rage so pure, so cold, and so absolute. It felt like a new, stronger spine was growing inside me, vertebra by icy vertebra. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a case of my sister getting a lucky break. This was a crime, a deliberate, calculated, and breathtakingly cruel act of theft. Not just of a job, but of my future, my dream, my very identity. She had worn my skin to get what she wanted. My first, primal instinct was to grab my keys, drive to the new, fancy apartment she had undoubtedly rented with the signing bonus from my job offer, and confront her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the laptop at her head. I wanted to watch her face crumble as I presented her with the undeniable proof of her betrayal. But then, the other part of me, the part that had gotten me this far in my career, the methodical, strategic part, took over. The project manager in me kicked in. A hysterical confrontation was what she would expect. It would be messy. She would deny it. She would cry and play the victim. She would gaslight me, tell me I was crazy, that I had written the email myself and forgotten about it. She would delete the email from the trash folder remotely, and there would be no proof. It would be my word against hers, and in my family, the charismatic, beautiful, successful one always won against the quiet, intense, overly sensitive one. No, a direct attack was a losing strategy. There's a saying, never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. My sister had made a huge mistake, but she had also made me her enemy. And my new policy was not just to let her make her mistake, but to give her enough rope to hang herself, and then to document the hanging for a jury. I needed more than just a deleted email from my own account. I needed external validation. I needed proof from the one source she couldn't argue with, couldn't deny, couldn't manipulate. I needed proof from the company itself. My plan began to form. A cold, elegant piece of social engineering. I was going to use my sister's own tactics against her. I was going to use politeness, professionalism, and a carefully constructed narrative to bait a trap. I spent the next hour crafting the most important email of my life. Every word was chosen with a surgeon's precision. The tone had to be perfect, gracious, professional, a little sad, but with absolutely no hint of accusation. I was not the angry, betrayed sister. I was the consummate professional, the good sport, the bigger person. I opened a new message to harrison@aperturecreative.com. Subject following up, creative director position. I took a deep breath and I began to type. Dear Mr. Harrison, I hope this email finds you well. I am writing to you today to once again thank you for the incredible opportunity to interview for the creative director position at Aperture Creative last month. It was a rigorous and inspiring process, and I was so deeply impressed by the passion and the vision of everyone I met. I paused. Rereading the opening, it was perfect, respectful, professional. It established me as a reasonable, sane person. While I was, of course, very disappointed to learn that I wasn't the successful candidate in the end, I continued, the lie tasting like ash in my mouth. I understand that you had a very difficult decision to make with a pool of talented applicants. This was the first piece of bait. I was presenting a version of reality that I had been rejected that I knew was false. My reason for writing today, however, is not to express my disappointment, but to share my profound excitement. My disappointment was immediately overshadowed by my joy when I learned a few weeks ago that my own sister, Ms. Olivia Vance, was ultimately chosen for the role. The second piece of bait, I was validating Olivia's story, presenting it to him as a fact, as if it were common knowledge between us. I was so incredibly thrilled for her and for Aperture. While we share a last name, Olivia and I are very different designers, and I know that her unique creative voice and her bold vision will be a tremendous asset to your team. I have no doubt she will do a fantastic job for you. It was a wonderful and surprising turn of events, and in a way, it feels like the job has stayed in the family. This part was designed to be particularly confusing for him. It presented her hiring as a delightful surprise, a happy accident, completely at odds with the professional, albeit disappointing, rejection I had supposedly sent him. I finished the email with a final, professional flourish. I wish you, Olivia, and the entire team at Aperture nothing but the best in the future. I will continue to be one of your company's biggest admirers. Sincerely, Maya Vance. I read the email a dozen times. It was a masterpiece of polite, professional deception. It was a carefully constructed logic bomb, designed to create a single, simple reaction in the person who read it. What in the world is she talking about? I took a deep breath, my finger hovering over the send button. This was my one shot, if he ignored it. If he just read it and thought I was a little strange. My plan was over, but I was betting on the fact that a man like Charles Harrison, the CEO of a major agency, would not be able to let such a confusing and contradictory piece of correspondence go unanswered. I hit send. The little notification popped up. Your message has been sent. And the waiting began. It was a new kind of waiting, completely different from the hopeful, anxious waiting I had endured before. This was a tense, strategic waiting. I was a hunter, sitting in a blind, having just laid a perfect trail of bait. Now all I could do was wait for the target to walk into my sights. The hours ticked by with agonizing slowness. I paced my apartment. I made coffee I didn't drink. I stared at my phone, my stomach churning. Every time it buzzed with a junk email, my heart leaped into my throat. What if he's on vacation? What if he's too busy? What if he just deletes it? I spent the entire next day in this state of high-strung limbo. By 5 o'clock, I had almost given up hope. The workday on the East Coast was over. He wasn't going to reply. My clever plan had failed. And then, at 5:17 p.m., my phone pinged. A new email. The subject line was simple, following up. Creative director position. The sender was Charles Harrison. My breath caught in my throat. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely unlock my phone. I took a deep breath and opened the email. And there it was. My vindication, my proof, my victory. In 12-point, professional, corporate font. Dear Maya, his email began. Thank you for your very gracious and professional note. It was a pleasure meeting with you as well. However, I must admit that I am a bit confused by the contents of your email. You were, in fact, our unanimous first choice for the creative director position following an outstanding final interview. The entire hiring committee was incredibly excited about the prospect of you joining our team. I read that sentence 3 times. Unanimous first choice. The words were a balm to my wounded, self-doubting soul. He continued. We were, therefore, all quite disappointed and surprised when we received your email the next day, formally declining our offer due to a personal family matter. Of course, we respected your decision, though we were saddened by it, and we considered ourselves very fortunate that when we reached out to the other candidates on our shortlist, your very talented sister was still available and interested in the position. We are thrilled to have her joining us, but I want to be clear that the original offer was made to you, and it was you who turned us down. I'm not sure where the miscommunication may have occurred, but I hope this clarifies the situation from our end. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Sincerely, Charles Harrison, CEO, Aperture Creative. I leaned back in my chair and let out a long, slow breath. The relief was so profound it was almost a physical pain. It wasn't just my word against hers anymore. It wasn't just a deleted email from my own account. This was it. The smoking gun, the irrefutable, third-party proof from the CEO of the company himself. He thought I had rejected them. I thought they had rejected me. And my sister, my loving, supportive sister, was the only person who knew the truth. The game was over. Checkmate. The heartbreak was still there. a dull, deep ache. But it was now completely overshadowed by a powerful, righteous, and ice-cold fury. I had been patient, I had been quiet, I had played the part of the grieving, supportive sister. That part was now over. I looked at the 2 emails on my screen, the forgery from my account, and the confirmation from him. I saved them both as PDFs. I attached them to a new email. But this email wasn't to my sister. It wasn't to my parents. It was to Charles Harrison. Subject urgent, following up on your email, suspected fraud. Dear Mr. Harrison, I wrote, my fingers flying across the keyboard. Thank you so much for your prompt and clarifying response. I believe the miscommunication you referred to is, in fact, a serious act of professional and potentially criminal fraud. I did not decline your offer. I never even received it. The email you received from my account was a forgery. I have attached it, along with your email to me, for your review. I believe my sister, Olivia Vance, who you have just hired, has deliberately and maliciously sabotaged my career opportunity. I need to speak with you and your head of human resources as soon as possible. Sincerely, Maya Vance. I hit send, and I knew, with absolute certainty, that the next act of this play was about to begin, and this time, I would not be a member of the audience. I would be the director. The email to Charles Harrison was a declaration of war sent on a Tuesday evening. I didn't have to wait long for his response. My phone rang less than 10 minutes later, the 212 area code flashing on my screen like a beacon. Miss Vance, his voice said, and it was no longer the warm, encouraging tone of a potential boss. It was a low, cold, and intensely focused sound. It was the voice of a CEO whose company had been compromised. I have just read your email and reviewed the attachments. Please do not go anywhere. Do not speak to your sister. My head of IT is pulling the server logs as we speak. I will call you back. He hung up. I sat there, my heart pounding with a new kind of adrenaline, the kind that comes not from fear, but from a righteous, impending battle. For the first time in weeks, I was not a victim. I was a whistleblower, and I had just handed the smoking gun to the most powerful man in the building. The callback came exactly 58 minutes later. We have it, was the first thing he said. His voice was tight, with a controlled fury. The IT report is conclusive. There was a login to your Gmail account from an IP address that we have traced to a MacBook Air registered to Olivia Vance. The login occurred at 3:14 p.m. on October 12th, approximately 2 minutes after my office sent you the official offer of employment. That was followed by a sent message from your account to mine at 3:16 p.m. Then, at 3:17 p.m., 2 emails, one incoming from me, one outgoing to me, were moved to the trash folder and then permanently deleted. The digital fingerprints are everywhere. It is an open and shut case of wire fraud and identity theft. I let out a shaky breath I didn't realize I had been holding. It was real. I wasn't crazy. She didn't just delete the offer. Ms. Vance, he continued, his voice now dangerously quiet. She impersonated you in writing to reject the offer. She then used that opportunity to secure the position for herself under false pretenses. This is not just an act of sibling rivalry. This is a profound breach of professional ethics. It is an act of fraud committed against this company, and I will not tolerate it. I had never felt so completely, so powerfully vindicated in my entire life. What happens now? I asked. Now, he said, his voice as cold as ice. We arrange a meeting, your sister's first day. Her new employee orientation is scheduled for this coming Monday at 9 a.m. I would like you to be there. We will be meeting in the main glass conference room on the 40th floor. Please be prompt. He was not asking me. He was inviting me to witness an execution, my sister's. The weekend that followed was the most surreal and psychologically demanding of my life. I had to live with her, my sister, my thief, my greatest betrayer, for 2 more days. And I had to pretend that everything was normal. I had to maintain my performance as the sad, supportive, but ultimately failed older sister. Olivia was on top of the world. She was incandescent with a joy that was almost painful to watch, knowing it was a joy she had stolen from me. She spent the entire weekend shopping, buying a whole new creative director wardrobe with the signing bonus from her stolen job. She would come home and model the expensive designer dresses for me. "What do you think of this one, Maya?" she'd ask. Twirling in front of the mirror, "Is it too much for my first day? I want to make a good impression." "It's beautiful, live," I'd say, my voice a perfect imitation of sisterly admiration. While my insides were churning with a cold, hard rage. "You look like a star." She talked endlessly about her plans for the agency, for her new team, and the most sickening part, she was using my own ideas, the very ones I had so hopefully and trustingly shared with her during our late-night prep sessions. "I have this great idea for the new telecom client," she'd say, her eyes shining with unearned brilliance. "Instead of a traditional ad campaign, we'll do a series of user-generated short films. A more authentic, grassroots approach." My idea, my exact words. She had stolen my portfolio, my strategies, my very thoughts, and was now parading them around as her own. I had to sit there, nod, and tell her how brilliant she was. It was a masterclass in self-control. Every smile was an effort of will. Every word of encouragement a lie that tasted like poison. On Sunday night, she laid out her outfit for her first day, an expensive silk blouse, a sharp blazer, designer heels. She was a woman dressing for the greatest day of her life. She had no idea she was actually dressing for her own funeral. On Monday morning, I arrived at the sleek, glass and steel tower of Aperture Creative at 8:45 a.m. I was dressed in a simple, professional black dress. I was calm. I was ready. Mr. Harrison and the head of HR, a formidable woman named Susan, were waiting for me. We met in the glass-walled conference room on the 40th floor, a room with a breathtaking view of the city. We didn't speak much. The evidence was all there. In a neat, damning pile on the conference table, the IT report, the printouts of the emails. At precisely 9 o'clock, we saw her, Olivia, walking down the long hallway towards us. She was beaming, her face alight with a triumphant, first day of school excitement. She was on top of the world. She held a new, expensive leather portfolio in her hand, ready to begin her dream job. She saw me through the glass wall, and her brilliant smile faltered for a second, replaced by a flicker of confusion. "What is Maya doing here?" She pushed the heavy glass door open and stepped inside, her confidence wavering slightly. "Maya," she said, her voice a little too bright. "What are you doing here? Did you come to surprise me? That is so sweet." "Hello, Olivia," I said quietly. "Olivia," Mr. Harrison said, his voice devoid of any warmth. "Please have a seat. We have a serious matter to discuss before we proceed with your orientation." The smile completely vanished from Olivia's face now, replaced by a look of dawning, nervous dread. She sat down opposite us, placing her new portfolio on the table. She looked from my calm, unreadable face to Mr. Harrison's thunderous one, and she knew this was not a welcome meeting. Mr. Harrison did not waste any time. He got straight to the point, his voice a cold, precise instrument of justice. "Olivia," he began, "as you know, you were offered the position of creative director following what you described to us as the previous first-choice candidate declining our offer." "Yes," she whispered, her hands starting to tremble in her lap. "That's right. We have since discovered some discrepancies in that version of events." He said. He slid a piece of paper across the table towards her. It was a printout of the IT report. "This is a log from our company's firewall, cross-referenced with your sister's email server. It shows a login to your sister's private email account from a device with an IP address registered to you at your shared apartment. The login occurred exactly 2 minutes after my office sent the official job offer to your sister, Maya." Olivia stared at the paper, her face going completely white. "The log then shows," he continued, his voice relentless, "that an email was sent from your sister's account to my office, declining the offer, and then 2 emails our offer and the forged rejection were permanently deleted. Can you explain that, Olivia?" She started to crumble. The performance was over. The lies were gone. All that was left was the raw, ugly, pathetic truth. I don't know anything about that," she stammered, her eyes darting around the room, looking for an escape. "Maya. She must have used my laptop. She gets confused sometimes." It was a pathetic, last-ditch attempt to gaslight me one final time. It didn't work. "Olivia," I said, my voice quiet but cutting, "Stop. Just stop. It's over." And then she broke. The dam of her deception burst, and a torrent of ugly, sobbing confessions came pouring out. "I'm sorry," she wailed, her face buried in her hands. "I'm so sorry, I wanted it so badly. She always gets everything. She's always been the successful one. The perfect one. I wanted to win. Just this once I saw the email come in. And I panicked. I deleted it. I didn't think anyone would ever find out." She looked at me, her face a mess of tears and mascara, her expression one of pure, desperate self-pity. I was going to be so good at this job. "Maya," she sobbed. "I really was." She still didn't get it. She wasn't sorry for the betrayal. She was just sorry she had been caught. The head of HR, Susan, who had been silent this whole time, finally spoke. Her voice was as cold and as unforgiving as a glacier. "Olivia," she said, "your actions were not just unethical, they were fraudulent. You deceived this company, and you deliberately sabotaged another candidate's career. A candidate who also happens to be your own sister. This is, without question, the most egregious act of professional misconduct I have ever encountered." She stood up. "Aperture Creative hereby rescinds its offer of employment to you, effective immediately. You are not an employee of this company. You are not welcome in this building. Security will now escort you from the premises." Olivia just stared at her, her sobs catching in her throat. Her dream job, her new life, her great victory, it had all lasted less than 15 minutes. It was over. She was escorted out of the conference room, a weeping, broken mess, her beautiful, expensive new portfolio left forgotten on the table. I sat there in the silent, glass-walled room, watching her go. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel joy. I just felt a profound quiet and deeply sad sense of an ending. Mr. Harrison let out a long, slow breath. He turned to me, his expression now one of deep apology and a new, thoughtful respect. "Well, Ms. Vance," he said, his voice full of a weary gravity, "that leaves us with an unexpected opening for a creative director." He paused, looking at me intently, "and, I think, a need for a new, more senior position to oversee this entire department. Someone with unimpeachable integrity and a will of iron." He smiled, a real, genuine smile this time. "We need to talk about your future," he said, "because I think it's going to be a very bright one. Here, with us." The heavy glass door of the conference room clicked shut, leaving a profound and ringing silence in its wake. My sister was gone, escorted out of the building like a common shoplifter, her dream job having lasted for approximately 12 minutes. I sat there, across the long, polished table from the CEO of Aperture Creative, Mr. Harrison, and the head of HR, Susan. The adrenaline from the confrontation began to drain away, leaving me feeling strangely calm and hollowed out. It was over. Mr. Harrison let out a long, slow breath and ran a hand over his face. He looked at me, his expression a mixture of profound apology, deep respect, and a certain kind of weariness. "Well, Miss Vance," he said, his voice a low rumble, "on behalf of Aperture Creative, I would like to offer you our most sincere and deepest apologies. What happened here today is an absolute disgrace. It is a failure of our process, and a failure of our judgment. We were deceived, and in doing so, we have caused you an incredible amount of professional and personal distress." "Thank you, Mr. Harrison," I said quietly. "I appreciate that. But apologies are not enough," he continued, leaning forward, his eyes intense. "What your sister did was a symptom of a deeper problem. The previous head of this division, the man who was in this role before I began searching for a replacement, fostered a toxic culture. It was all about individual stars, about internal competition, about backstabbing. It was a snake pit. That is why he is no longer with this company. And that is why I was so impressed with your interviews." He looked at Susan, the HR head, who nodded in agreement. "Your entire philosophy," he said to me, "was about collaboration, about lifting up your team, about fostering a creative environment built on trust. It was exactly what this department, what this company, needs." He paused, a new, strategic light entering his eyes. "Which brings me to the matter at hand. As of about 15 minutes ago, we have an unexpected opening for a creative director." He gave me a small, wry smile, and I would like to formally, and with great enthusiasm, offer you the position." My heart, which had been through an emotional marathon, gave another little leap. The job, after everything, it was still mine. "But," he said, holding up a hand, "I've been thinking, in the last half hour, that just filling that role isn't enough. That's just plugging a hole. I don't want to just plug a hole. I want to rebuild the entire foundation." He stood up and began to pace the room, the energy shifting from apology to excitement. "What this division needs is a new leader, not just a creative director, but a head of the entire creative division, a new, more senior role, someone who can not only lead the flagship projects, but who can fundamentally reshape the culture of this department, someone with unimpeachable integrity, a brilliant strategic mind, and a spine made of absolute steel." He stopped pacing and looked directly at me. "I am no longer offering you the job you interviewed for, Maya," he said, his voice full of a new conviction. "I am offering you a better one. I am offering you the chance to be the boss of the job you interviewed for. I want you to run this entire department. I want you to rebuild it in your own image. The title is Director of Creative Operations. The salary will be 30% higher than what was in your original offer. And the job is yours, if you want it." I just stared at him. The whiplash was so intense I felt dizzy. I had walked into this building expecting to witness my sister's downfall. I had hoped, at best, to get my old dream job back. I had never, in a million years, imagined this. They didn't just give me the job, they gave me her job, and her boss's job, too. A slow smile spread across my face. A real one, this time. "Mr. Harrison," I said, my voice clear and strong, "I accept." A year has passed since that insane, life-altering day. The view from my new office, a large, corner office with a panoramic view of the city. Mr. Davies's old office is a constant, beautiful reminder of how quickly a life can change. My life at Aperture Creative has been everything I ever dreamed of, and so much more. I didn't just take a job, I took on a mission. I spent the last year doing exactly what Mr. Harrison had hired me to do. I rebuilt. I restructured the entire creative department. I got rid of the toxic, competitive star system, and I implemented a new model built on collaboration and mutual respect. I started a mentorship program, pairing senior designers with junior ones. I championed the quiet, hardworking people who had been overlooked for years, promoting them to leadership positions. I fostered a culture where good ideas could come from anywhere, and where the success of the team was more important than the success of any one individual. And the work we produced? It was the best of my career. The projects I now lead are a dream. We launched a massive, critically acclaimed campaign for a national art museum. We rebranded an international nonprofit. Our work is smart, it's beautiful, and it's making a real impact. I am no longer a senior designer executing someone else's vision. I am the one setting the vision, and it is the most fulfilling, most challenging, and most joyful work I have ever done. The fallout with my family was, as expected, messy, but this time I was the one with the power, and I refused to give it away. My mother called me a few weeks after I started my new job. She had, of course, heard Olivia's tearful, self-pitying, and heavily edited version of the story. "Maya," she began, her voice dripping with the familiar guilt-tripping tone I knew so well. "I know what Olivia did was wrong, but she is your sister. She is ruined. Her career is over. She made a terrible mistake because she was jealous of you, because she loves you so much and just wants to be like you. You have to help her." The old me, the responsible older sister, would have caved. I would have felt the familiar pang of guilt, the weight of my sister's failure, but the old me was gone. "Mom," I said, my voice calm and firm, a voice that brooked no argument. "Let me be very clear. What Olivia did was not a mistake. It was a series of deliberate, malicious, and fraudulent acts. She did not do it because she loves me. She did it because she wanted to destroy me, and she almost succeeded." "But she's your family," she cried. "Is she?" I asked quietly. "Because family doesn't do that. Family doesn't steal, and lie, and sabotage. I love you, Mom, but I will not be responsible for cleaning up Olivia's messes anymore. She is a grown woman who has made her own choices, and she needs to face the consequences of those choices. My relationship with you, going forward, depends on you understanding and respecting that. I will not discuss her with you again. I set the boundary, and for the first time in my life, I held it. Our relationship is strained now. It is not the relationship I wish we had, but it is an honest one, and it is one that exists on my terms. I have not spoken to Olivia since that day in the conference room. I have no idea what she is doing, and I have no desire to find out. I wish her no ill will, but I also wish her nothing at all. She is a ghost to me now, a character from a sad, old story. I have closed that book, and I have put it away on a high shelf to gather dust. My life is full. I have my work, which I love. I have built a new circle of friends in my new city. Friendships built on mutual respect and genuine admiration. I am finally living the life I was always meant to live. A life that is bigger and better than the one she tried to steal from me. The ultimate irony, the thing I still sometimes laugh about, is that my sister's betrayal was the greatest gift she ever gave me. Her attempt to steal my dream job led me to a better one. Her attempt to push me down a ladder ended up with me being handed a helicopter to the very top. She wanted to be me so badly that she inadvertently created a version of me that was far more successful, far more powerful than I had ever dreamed of being on my own. And so I leave you with this, to anyone out there who has ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, who has ever had someone try to steal your success or dim your light. Do not let their jealousy become your prison. Sometimes, the most painful betrayals are just clearing the path for a bigger, better opportunity you couldn't have seen otherwise. Thank you for listening. If you've ever had to fight a rival, especially one you loved, tell me your story in the comments. I see you. Hit that subscribe button if you believe in karmic promotions. And remember, don't ever let anyone else delete your dream. Sometimes, when they try, you just end up getting an even better offer.